Hello and welcome to Vegetology. Today we are going to be making a delicious vegan new potato, kind of like spring green salad. This is a great accompaniment to like an Easter feast or, you know, spring feast. There's also a video that we did that is a really lovely vegan pie, which this would be great with. So if you put those together, that would be a lovely meal. So the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to pop some new potatoes into a saucepan that's already got boiling water. These are going to take probably about 10 minutes. So if we get these going first, and then by the time they're ready, we'll have most other things ready to assemble. Okay, so we've got our potatoes just boiling there. I'm using baby potatoes that I've cut in half, but if you want to use miniature potatoes, they don't need cutting at all and also work really well in the salad. So the first thing we're going to do after our potatoes is actually make our dressing. Now we're going to do this in a NutriBullet or in a food processor, whatever you've got, use. You will need to add, if you make it and you feel like it's a bit too thick, just add a bit more water to it and loosen it down a little bit. So the first thing that I'm going to add into here is some olive oil. Now you want about 1/4 cup. So it's about 50 to 60 ml. Now mine actually has liquid measurements on the side, so I'm just going to go on that and go about halfway up to the 100. Okay, so I've got my olive oil in there. The next thing we're going to add in is, just chop my lemon in half here. We're going to have about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. So I'm just going to squeeze a fresh lemon. Going to be 1 healthy tablespoon there, and my other half as well. So far we've got olive oil and lemon juice. The next thing we're going to add in is some mint leaves. So I've got a whole pack of mint here. Some's going to be reserved to scatter over the top, and then some I'm just going to chop up and add in. I mean, we are whizzing this, so you don't have to chop it up. I just like to start the chopping process. We're also going to add in, probably better ripping the top bit off first, a crushed clove of garlic. Again, if you want to just add it in and not have crushed it first of all, you can do. I like to give it the best chance of being a really nice smooth dressing, so I tend to crush mine in. I'm going to pop it in my little garlic crusher there. I'm going to pop in a teaspoon of whole grain mustard. Do make sure that whatever mustard you're using says that it's suitable for vegans. This one is just a Tesco one. Most of them are vegan. You can use them, but just double check. So half a teaspoon. There is a couple I noticed in the shops that don't say suitable for vegans, so I just avoid those ones. We're also going to put in half a teaspoon of maple syrup, just to give it a little bit of sweetness. Okay, so we're nearly there. The olive oil should make it nice and liquidy, but we may just add a splash of water as well. Okay, so I think we've got everything there. A little bit of salt and pepper. And then I am just going to add in a splash of water. Now, this will be really loud. Just going to pop it on the NutriBullet and whiz it up till it's really smooth. Okay, so that's nice and blended now. Like I say, if you feel like yours is a bit thick, just add a bit more water, but that is the perfect consistency for the dressing for me. So I'm actually going to pop the lid back on that because I have a tendency to knock things over. So I'm just going to keep my dressing set to the side. Okay, so my potatoes are just boiling behind me. They'll be nice. Put my mint leaves just to the side there. Oof. Now I've got 2 tablespoons of almonds here. You can keep them whole or you can chop them up a little bit if you want. We are going to dry fry them. Sorry, just get a large knife out. I'm just going to chop these a little bit because I think they're a little bit nicer in the salad if they're in slightly smaller pieces. We're going to dry fry these for a couple of minutes. We want them to toast, but we don't want them to burn. So just keep an eye on them in the frying pan. They only need a couple of minutes and then they can come out to cool. So I've got my toasted almonds here and I'm just going to scoop them back in to a little bowl, the bowl I had before, just to let them cool off. Okay. Make sure you get all the little bits out of this frying pan because we're going to be using this again in a moment. So the next thing we want to get ready is our courgette. So you don't have to fry this or do anything else to it. I quite like to toss it through in the frying pan for a minute, just to almost toast, there it is, toast the sides slightly. So you want to have a washed courgette and then you want to slice it. I quite like to do it with this very thin slicer. It's originally a cheese slicer, but I find actually it's really helpful for making really delicate thin slices for in salads. The other thing you could use if you had one would be a spiralizer, because there's a flat blade usually on those. I actually find these work really well. Okay, so I've got all of my courgette peeled into really thin ribbons now. So I'm just going to pop them into my frying pan and literally just toss them through for a minute or so. So they've got a little bit cooked and they've got a little bit toasted. Okay, so my courgette has now just griddled nicely. So I'm just going to pop that into a bowl and set that aside. I'm going to pop my frying pan straight back on the heat with a little bit of olive oil in. So the last thing I've got here is my asparagus. I've taken off the woody ends and I've chopped them in half. I think having one that length in your salad is probably a little bit long. So I'm gonna put these in my pan that's already got a little bit of olive oil in. If you do these in a griddle pan, you'll get the nice lines on them, but they're also nice just in the pan with a bit of olive oil. Just give them a little toss every so often, every minute or so, to make sure they're not catching. Asparagus on the hob there, just char grilling nicely. I've got my potatoes that are still boiling in the pan. I've got about 3/4 of a cup of sweet corn here. I'm going to add this to another pan of boiling water for a couple of minutes. And by the time the sweet corn is cooked, the asparagus will be ready and then we will be ready to assemble. So I've got all of my bits assembled here. We've got our toasted almonds, we've got our courgette ribbons, some fresh mint that we're going to scatter over the top, our griddled asparagus, some boiled sweet corn and little boiled potatoes, and I've also got just a bag of salad, which I've just given a little wash to. Okay, so if you want to buy just normal salad, as in like, you know, lettuce and chop it up with some other salad leaves, I've just brought a pre-made salad bag there. Okay, so I'm going to put my salad in first and then I'm going to start to layer in everything else and then give it a good stir up. Put my courgettes in. Your courgettes, you will find, will start to still be losing some liquid because they have got a lot of liquid in them. So I would start to take them out using a little tool. Use a fork, use a spoon. Just try not to pour in that excess liquid that the courgettes are still giving off. Leave that in the bowl. Okay. And then I'm going to add in my asparagus. And then my almonds. Now I do want to give all of this a nice mix. So be a bit careful and just give it a little mix up. Start to bring through some of those salad leaves from the bottom. Just slowly, otherwise it'll go everywhere. Okay, and before I put any extra mint leaves on top, I'm just going to get my dressing, pour it all over. Try and get every last bit in. It's too tasty to waste. Don't want any waste here. Give that salad a nice another little mix up Try and bring some of those, oh, it smells so nice. I wish you could send a smell through the camera. You can't, but it does smell good. I like to be able to see all the different bits of this, oh gosh, all the different bits of the salad. So I can see sweet corn, I can see asparagus, I can see leaves, I can see potatoes. And I'm going to top it off, I'll have a little wipe up here in a minute, with a couple of mint leaves. So just tear these over the top. Remember, you have already got mint in the dressing. This is just a bit extra. There we go. Okay, so there you have our spring green, new potato and asparagus salad, all ready for your Easter feast.